Hi everyone, my name is Christiana and today I'm here with Jacob and we're going to be talking all about mental health, his journey, his experience with mental health and everything that he has experienced in his life. And I'm from Teenage Mental Love and we're basically a site that supports mental health and we love to support people out there because we know that especially now is such a hard time for people who are struggling with mental health. So we always love to support everyone who's out there, and if you ever need someone to talk to, we're just one DM away. And we hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy this interview, and we're going to jump right into it. Yeah, so firstly, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing right now mentally?
Really good. I'm always like kind of struggling, have things in the back of my mind, but like, recently, since coming home from treatment, which obviously I'll get into later, things have been so much better in my life, and I'm still getting help with some of the things, and even despite the times, and like kind of coming home to like a broken kind of world, I think I'm hanging in okay.
Wow, that's amazing. And I wanted to go a little bit like down the line to your background and what was it like for you growing up and experiencing mental health?
Yeah, so for a long time, so in my family, there's a history of like mental health, substance abuse, like a lot of things. And kind of growing up, I never struggled with depression. I definitely struggled with anxiety. My parents always told me, like my parents tell me now that like when I was like a little kid, like I was just always worried about like everything. And I definitely suffered from, not really suffered, but when I was young, I started showing signs of just like minor OCD, nothing too serious yet, and like so I lived with it, and like honestly, even up until like the middle of high school, I was just like in a good headspace all the time. I never really struggled with like anything too difficult. I saw like certain members of my family suffered a lot with anxiety and depression, and in my mind, like since everything was okay with me, like I would always just be like, oh, I don't understand. It's just easy to just like choose happiness and be happy all the time, because like that's kind of how I felt. I wasn't struggling with depression yet, so like that's how it was. Like that was like my mental kind of state back then. The major part of my struggles were kind of introduced like in the middle of high school. First started like experiencing or like using behaviors relating to like an eating disorder, which I had no idea like what. When I think back to it, like the first like in early high school, I just like my OCD started getting a little bit worse, and it started like grasping on to like my eating patterns, and like I was always like really scared of like contamination and like eating the wrong things. And at first it wasn't a big deal, but it's like I remember in the middle of high school, I was growing all throughout high school, like my height, and I was a really healthy and normal weight when I was in middle school up to like freshman year of high school, and then I started growing and just didn't really gain much weight. And my doctors and like no one really like suspected anything. They just like thought, oh, he's growing, so he's thinning out a little bit. But when that started happening, my eating patterns were also like getting interrupted by like intrusive thoughts and like OCD related things. And so it started to become like I started to have a really restrictive diet like in the middle of high school, and that just kind of led to me losing a lot of weight. And like I remember the first time like someone said something to me, it didn't make like I was just really confused. Like I was in like an art class in school when I was like 15, and like this girl next to me is like, "Are you okay? Like, you look like you look really skinny. Like, are you eating? Are you okay?" And in my mind, and like to her, I was so confused because like no one's ever said something like that to me, and like I was just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm totally fine. I don't know what you're talking about, whatever." And just like that first comment stuck with me for a long time. It was like, and then after that, like I was thinning out more. I was like having like it was always an up and down battle with the eating, and like the longer it went on, the more like comments, like all the things that people said to me, like for a long time stuck to me. Anything relating to like my weight or like my physical appearance, it was like I always ended up getting like extremely hung up on those, and just like it led to like really confused and really just a confused battle in my head of like people like, because some people said like really rude things like it's like, oh my god, you're so skinny, it's disgusting, like you need to eat more. And like back like these were like friends of mine saying that, and like I just like to them I kind of brushed it off. I'm like, I do eat, like I'm fine, but like in like inside I was just like, am I really like that gross? Like, do I look like disgusting? And then like it just my mind would just go down so many different like thought patterns that just like led to more and more kind of issues, I guess.
Yeah, wow, that's that's really shocking to me to hear, especially because when people usually start that, a lot of people, they don't realize, but also to hear those like people saying something like that is like really really shocking, and especially at high school, like that's such an older age. And I wanted to also say, like, when like it started, was there like something behind, like a reason why you stopped, like you're like restrictive with your eating?
A major component was the OCD. I started restricting a lot of certain things, and like because I was just like in fear all the time that like I was gonna get really sick and like die from eating, like something like poisoned or something, and it was just like really hard to escape those thought patterns. So I started restricting just a lot of different foods, but then there was like this societal kind of like pressure, I guess, and when I was around like 15, I was approached to start modeling, and like that's kind of like where I got like my first kind of like audience online, and it's like it was really confusing because like I played a lot of sports in high school and stuff, and like even in sports, like I had coaches be like, oh, you really need to like gain more weight and like do this like so you can like be faster or something, and I was like, so half of my mind was just like, okay, I need to get bigger, like I need to do this. That puts a lot of pressure on my eating, and like I can't take that kind of pressure because I just like it gets morphed in my mind. And then also like I was like modeling and doing all this other stuff, and like I was getting rewarded for the way that I looked. So it was like I don't know like which path to kind of take, and then I started to think like, oh my gosh, like this is just like a blessing that I don't really get that hungry and I don't have to eat that much because like I could just stay thin, and like thin is like beautiful, whatever. And it was like it was hard because I had that like evidence in my mind. Like I had evidence. I was like, oh, I'm modeling right now, and people like the way I look. No one in modeling or like any sort of like entertainment thing I did ever told me like, oh, you need to gain more weight or lose more weight. But then like the other half like of my high school life that was going on simultaneously was like friends being like, oh my god, you're so skinny, or like coaches saying like, oh, you need to like put on more muscle or get bigger, or like eat a burger or like something like that. And so it was just like two poles like pulling me back and forth in either direction. That just made it like really confusing.
Wow. And I wanted to say also, like, that's crazy with the modeling and how that really tied in and was almost like a reward, like, oh wow, my body looks like this, so it's a good thing. So I know exactly what you mean. And when it comes to social media, I don't know if like at that time was social media like also a factor in that, like society and like beauty standards and such. Do you think that had a factor in your eating disorder?
A little bit, I think, because early on in my kind of like social media career, I guess, I was mostly 100% like only known for like the way that I looked. Like I didn't really have a personality online like my first like year or two when I had like this little platform from like my modeling pictures and stuff. And then it did feel like there was like a little bit of pressure to like always like look good. But at the same time, I think I always did like an okay job at like ignoring that and kind of like sticking to myself, because also it did feel like really like back then it felt like super natural to me. I was just like this eating, like I had an eating disorder, but I had no idea I had one, and it was just like this is great. Like I can have like this attention online and like don't really have to eat, and like if I do eat, like I don't really gain weight, so like this is all good. Like and And I remember, like, I used to, like, look at other guys on social media and compare my own body to theirs and be like, and think, I would look for evidence of people who were really skinny and had a big platform, because that's just, like, I wanted to make sure that was, like, a valid thing, like, because a lot of society is just like, oh, a man is really, like, big and strong, and, like, I'm like, but I'm not that. So I would always look for evidence of, like, people that kind of fit my body type and the way that I looked, just to kind of reassure myself that, like, okay, like, this is okay, like, this is a normal thing. But it was really hard to find that sometimes, and, like, I would definitely just, like, look for evidence to, like, shut my mind off of the idea that I had to be big and strong, because I didn't want to go there for some reason.
Wow, I completely understand. And you said that your OCD played a big factor in your eating disorder. What was that like? I know, like, some OCD can be so different for so many people. Like, some people can't leave the house until they do something. I wanted to ask you, what was your OCD like? I know you talked about food poisoning a little. Yeah, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. So I'll explain it really transparently. So it might be, like, a little bit like I don't know, but I'll just say it how it came into my mind. Like, for example, it was, a lot of it was pattern based. I would think, like, some of it was very simple. It would be like, okay, if I skip breakfast and eat, like, a granola bar for lunch or something, I'll have enough energy. So I have to do that in order to, like, have the perfect amount of energy, because I've done that. Like, I've done this before and it felt good. So I need to, like, my mind would just hatch on to, like, these weird patterns that, like, worked out or I felt good. And I would try and recreate those, like, all the time. And, like, another really big one for me was, like, I had this huge fear of, like, if I ate something, like, too big before bed, that I would, like, wake up and, like, I would be choking, like, on my vomit and I would die or something like that. And so, like, if it would get too late, I just would skip dinner, or, like, and it started, like, getting earlier and earlier. Like, I'd be like, oh, it's already, like, 8 p.m. Like, yeah, I shouldn't eat dinner because, like, I don't want to, like, have anything go wrong while I'm sleeping. Because, like, I also have, like, a lot of it is just, like, a huge fear of, like, not being in control, and, like, sleeping is really scary. It was really scary. Like, I had huge trouble sleeping when I was younger, and, like, and it always, like, I would always be nervous about, like, if eating too close to bed, like, how that would like, how I wouldn't have control of my body when I was digesting, and that, like, really scared me for some reason. Yeah. So just, like, trying to mimic old patterns and, like, trying to avoid certain paths that in my mind could lead to, like, a disaster just would push food away from me.
Wow. And when that happened to you, was that something, like, you had to repeatedly do that, or, like, you felt uncomfortable?
It was, yes, like, I would have to, I would repeat doing, like, like, meal patterns for, like, months, because, like, in my mind, I was just like, if I don't eat this and this, something really bad's gonna happen. And, like, the bad things, like, there's just, like, a bunch of bad things that could happen in my mind. So yeah, like, I would just, like, the eating patterns were very similar, and I would just, like, latch on to them. And I mean, like, even aside from the eating piece, the OCD was, like, I had many things that I used to do when I was younger, like, which I still did at this time, but I don't do that stuff anymore. But I had a lot of rituals that I would do before bedtime, where I would, like, I would get in bed and, like, have to, like, get up out of bed, check under my bed. This is when I was, like, 10. Like, I'd have to check under my bed, close and open my closet door 7 times, check under my bed again, do the closet again, and then get in bed. And if I felt like I would, and then I would, like, get in bed and I would think, like, am I sure I did that 7 times? And, like, then I would start freaking out. Like, what if I didn't do it? Like, what if there was something in the closet and I didn't see it? And then I would, like, have to get back up and do the whole thing over again. Yeah. And so it interrupted my sleep a lot when I was younger. and like even like in high school, I still had weird rituals that I had to do every day, in fear of something disastrous happening to like me or my family.
Wow, I completely understand. And then it feels like literally like a burden. Like if you don't do it one night or you fall asleep without doing it, like you might wake up and you never, and like it just messes with your mind. And I completely understand that. Wow. And also, when that happened to you, was there anyone who, like, I know you had those comments that were, really intense, and then you also had modeling that never even said anything to you about your body. I wanted to say, was there anyone who, like, said to you, like, wow, do you, are you eating, or are you eating in, like, a time manner, or, like, are you getting enough meals or something like that?
No one in a caring way.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think impacted it a lot. Like the only comments of people asking me if I ate were like friends who were really close to me and like thought it was like appropriate to be like, oh my god, like you need to eat more, like you really need to eat more, and like that just like came off as like really like it. I understand like they obviously were not doing anything malicious. Like they were just like they're my friend and they just said what was on their mind. But But yeah, I just never knew how to feel about those comments, and like, no one ever like came to me from like a caring place and be like, hey, like, are you sure you're eating? And I mean, when people did, like, there was definitely maybe, yeah. So like, I'm thinking back. I think like my grandmother used to like say to me like, oh, but it still came off as rude to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like understand why, but like I know she was just like making sure that I was okay. And even when like she would say stuff to me, it would stress me out. It would like add this other like pressure. Like it just anyone telling me to eat just like felt like too much pressure for me to handle, and I was just like I don't want to deal with any of those like comments.
I completely understand. And when you first started to like open up about it, like how did that feel? Was like it almost like a relief, or did it feel like a burden?
Um, it took me a really long time to see it as a relief, because when I first ever got help for it, I was. I mean, honestly, up until I went to treatment, in 2000, in like late 2019, I was still like kind of believing that like, well, I mean, when I first kind of admitted that I had like an eating disorder and went to a therapist for it, it was like so relieving. It kind of was just like, okay, wow, like I'm getting help, and like now I finally have someone who I can like really explain like this stuff to. And but even when I went to the therapist for the first time, I still kind of felt like what I was going through wasn't valid because like the stereotypical eating disorder was didn't really fit like what I was going through. So I was like was having a hard time like understanding like, no, this can't be an eating disorder because it's not like anorexia or like bulimia. So it's not an eating disorder. And like if I go to a therapist, like they're not even going to know like what is wrong with me or how to help me. But I was like really, really quickly kind of like awakened to the idea that like, oh no, like because I said to like my first therapist, I was just like, do I have an eating disorder? Like I don't know what this is. Like have you ever like spoken to somebody that like it says the same things as me? And they're like, yeah, you have no idea. Like so many, like you aren't like this like crazy case that is like uncurable or whatever. I've had many patients who've recovered like so beyond what they thought was possible. And that was like that was a really big relief. I started to definitely feel like heard. But yeah, so.
Wow, yes. And just like you said, like you felt like, before your therapist told you, you felt like you were like kind of like a rare case. And I know I read one of your Instagram stories, and you said that you were diagnosed with ARFID. And I wanted to ask you if you could like explain that a little bit more, because I know some people aren't familiarized with it.
Yeah, so ARFID is Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, and it's pretty like it's like exactly kind of what the name says it is. Like it's it's actually really it's mostly seen in young kids that have like really extreme picky eating problems. That's classified like it's not just picky eating, like it's like extreme picky eating to the point where it's literally like an eating disorder. It's not just like this like little quirk, and I mean it's a lot more than like it's mostly seen in younger kids, but it's not like extremely rare like in adults or teenagers, and yeah, it wasn't surprising to like the doctors, because like of my OCD. Like it's very like the best way to put it is like it works well with OCD, like in the evil way. Like it knows how to work well with OCD to like make my intake a lot more restricted, and yeah, so and it could lead to like a lot of other things, but like the baseline of it is just like having this like and honestly the baseline of a lot of eating disorders is just like this really unhealthy relationship with food, and because while I did have like really poor and confusing body image, the baseline of mine was that like I just had I had a really poor relationship with food. I wouldn't mind gaining weight, but it's really hard for me to because of my bad relationship with food. I wasn't fearful of gaining weight, but I wasn't like. I mean, there was always like I had mixed feelings about gaining weight, but it wasn't. I definitely wasn't like completely afraid of doing it. I wanted to get healthy, but it was just really hard for me to because of the avoidant and restricted intake I had.
Yes, well, I completely understand. And when you first, like, got diagnosed and, you were put in, I believe you said that you were put in, like a facility that took care of people who had, yes, that eating disorder. And I wanted to also say, was this like a shock to your friends and family, especially the people who had said, like, why don't you eat more, or insensitive comments like that?
Yeah, so the journey that kind of led me to treatment, it was the last thing on my mind. I like my therapist. I was seeing a therapist every week from 2016 to till current day. It was two separate therapists though. I stopped seeing one who passed me on to like one who specializes in only eating disorders. So yeah, I was seeing this one doctor from late 2017 until present day, and it was and she. I had always my first therapist had recommended this one facility to me and said like and this is at like the end of 2016 or early 2017 where he was like listen, like there's really not much else I can do for you, like I really want you, I think it'd be good for you to go to treatment for this. And that really scared me. I was like no, I'm never doing that. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to like put my life on pause again. And because I had like taken the semester off already. I was like in college. I still am in college, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. I don't want to go to treatment. That's too scary. And in my mind, I'm just like, and it's not even that bad. Like I'm alive right now. Like I can function. It's okay. And he was like, he had recommended me to go see this other therapist, and I started seeing her. And the baseline kind of work that we were doing, since she specialized like specifically in eating disorders, helped me, and it kind of helped me stay afloat for a while. So from late 2017 until 2019, I was just going up and down, like slow, like getting a little bit better, then getting worse, and getting better and getting worse. And in 2018, late 2018, it just really started getting like worse and worse. and it in my mind, treatment was still way too scary. So it really, like, I started to really feel like, okay, I actually have no other option because I've been seeing this therapist. Is like the third therapist I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, that's too many. Like, there's no one else who could help me, and I'm too scared to go to treatment. So like, I don't know what to do. And like, I was in that mindset for so long, and my eating disorder got worse and worse, and just like restricting so much. And by like 2000, September of last year, kind of like this time last year, actually, was like the lowest point. Like, I had gone back to college where I was living in an apartment by myself, and the university is like 30 minutes from like my parents' house, and the semester had started. It was like a week into it, and I like physically like could not like get myself to go to class. I was only eating like one or two granola bars a day, like really small ones too, and like I had no energy. I was really weak, and like I would almost every single night I would drive 30 minutes home to my parents' house because like I was just like so like shaken and like just like in like this really, really weak state. Like I just like couldn't function on my own. So I kept having to go home, and was trying to work through with my parents, like figuring out what we can do, because I was way too scared of taking another break from school. And it would just make me feel really guilty for some reason because of like the pressure of graduating and like getting into a career really fast, and like all of that was just like weighing down on me, and I reached a point like in I think September, like 3 weeks into the semester, where I was like on track to completely fail every single one of my classes, and couldn't eat, couldn't do anything, could hardly function, could hardly like get myself to change my clothes, yet shower, or like do anything. So that was when the school kind of like intervened, because I went to the health center there, and kind of told them like, hey, like, because I needed help with, like, in my mind I was like, I need to go to the health center to like ask for like extra time in my classes, like to finish some assignments, because I don't want to fail. And I went there, and they're like, no, like you need to do, like, you need something else, like you don't need like accommodations. Like well, they at first they were like, we could try and get you accommodations, but then it like kind of led to like, no, like you need more than just that. And like, so they sent me home, and like, so I went home, and my parents were like extremely supportive and helpful. And like, I think I came home, I moved a bunch of my stuff home. My parents, well, I took like a bag full of clothes, and a few other things, and went home, and it's just like, okay, I'm going to be here for a little, but still in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to go to treatment. But my therapist, I had an appointment with her. My mom wanted to come to it, so we went there, and during that appointment, we just decided that, yeah, like, now is the time for treatment. I don't have any other option. And in my mind, I was like, I didn't want to go, but I was just like, you know, I think they're right. Like, I really don't want to do this, but they're definitely right, because I'm just like, what other option do I have? Like, I can hardly function. Like, this life that I'm living right now isn't one that's worth living. Like, I need to change something. And like, but still really did not want to change because it was like way too scary to. But I really just didn't have any options. And like, even if I said I didn't want to, I think I would have ended up being forced into it. So I just took my time, and got like my mind in the right place to like be accepting of that treatment. And the place that I went to, the facility, I'd heard about it like 3 times before from different doctors, and they had a pretty long waiting list. I think I got on the waiting list in early October, and didn't get admitted until early November. which was like, that was okay for me. Obviously, they accommodate for people who like, because there are extremely like the cases vary, and like if somebody is being hospitalized, like that's a lot different, and they because there's like a different levels of care throughout the one facility that I went to. But like for me, like I had an interview with them, and they thought it was okay for me to be on the waiting list for like a month, and that I could function like that because I had a therapist and a psychiatrist and all that. They're like, it's like he can if he stays with seeing them like during the weeks, like it's okay for him to be on the waiting list for the residential program. So yeah, so I waited from like October to November, just relaxing, taking it easy at home, and not really feel like it was going to be real. Like I was actually going to be having to go. And I woke up one morning to a phone call from them, and they're like, "Oh, we have an opening now for you. Like, can you come in like 3 days?" And this place is in Wisconsin, and I'm from like DC. Yeah. So they're like, "Yeah, can you come in like 3 days?" I'm just like, "Yeah, I can." But it was, so I just had to like quickly, like it was actually really nice because like the surprise of it didn't leave enough time for me to ruminate, and like if I knew the exact date that I was going to be going, I think that I would have had like a harder time. But I didn't really know when it was coming, and then it just came up, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to do it now. Like I'm in too deep already. And yeah, so I went to the facility.
Yes, I was going to also I was saying more like what was the reaction of like your friends and family, but also I love what you said, how you explained, and I really love that your whole story. And I wanted to ask you all about like when you were in the facility, especially because there's like a stigma behind mental health, moreover an eating disorder, especially when it comes to men. And I wanted to ask you about that, and also like the facility that you went to. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so well, my friends and family, their reaction to me going to the facility, my family was like extremely supportive. It wasn't like hard for me to like open up to anything about them, because they've really been supportive with like a lot of different things in my life. So I'm really close with them. Friends, I kind of have like different like groups of friends. Like I have my friends like from my hometown, and then I have like all my friends from like social media. And like as I got older, like I became more friends with the people who like shared that like social media interest, and like we do a lot of things together. And we share like just like a lot of like really niche interests. And so like I was like closer with them at the time where I was suffering. So their reaction to me going was a lot more understandable, because they knew the extent of like my problems. But my hometown friends, like I don't think they understand. They hadn't. A lot of them hadn't seen me in a while, and I was honestly like a little bit weirded out by like telling them. And I remember my mom posted something on Facebook, like when I got there, and I had like a bunch of my friends from my hometown texting me about it, and like it stressed me out a little bit. But as time went on in treatment, I developed like a really like healthy idea of like my journey, and like I'm extremely open about it now. At the beginning, I felt like a little bit sensitive about it, but like all in all, everyone treated me really, really well. When they like everyone was just like really, really cool and supportive and nice about everything, and that was super nice. But yeah, so within the when I was like on my way there, I had an idea, like I had a picture painted in my mind of what treatment was going to look like, and it was complete. Like it was nothing like I had expected it to be. The men were 100% the minority there, but it didn't feel weird to be a man there. When I was going there, I thought that I was going to be just like the only boy, and because of like society, I thought it was just going to be like a bunch of really skinny girls. Like that's all I thought it was going to be like. So that's what I was kind of ready for. And then I walk in to the program on the first day, and I was so confused. Like it was like I was just like, am I in the right place? Like all these people don't look like they have eating disorders, and like it was a huge wake up call. I'm just like oh my gosh, that's really messed up of me to like think that it's like there is a problem with like what people see eating disorders as. Like there were two like men who looked like they could have been my dad that were there. Like they're the same age as my dad. They had the same like kind of body type, and I was just like whoa. Like it made me feel like it just made me feel good. And like even the girls there, like just like everyone was so different. Like not everyone's eating disorder wasn't the same there. It was like it's just like everyone had a poor relationship with eating and body image, and like it didn't matter what your gender, sex, race was or anything, or what your disorder was. Like everyone was just kind of there together, and that I think that was like just that first wake up call to me was like a major turning point in like my recovery. It made me feel a lot more valid, because like for so long I thought that like my eating disorder wasn't valid because like I don't really see men talking about eating disorders, but there was men there with them, and like kids my age. There was a point where I was the only boy. I was there for like a pretty long time. I think 5 months or around that. Yeah. And yeah, so like a lot of people like come and go. And at one point I was the only boy, but like still when I was the only boy, I wasn't like, obviously I wasn't treated any differently. And like, I just felt like really comfortable with everyone there. And like, it was just like, I don't know how else to explain it without just like, there were people that were suffering with much different things than me, but like we still just like became like really, really good friends. And like, and they all helped me like so much. And like the peers there, were definitely like this major impact, on my recovery. And like, and yeah, and like it's really cool because I'm still like really good friends with some of the people, and it was really, really nice to like completely be surrounded by how many people was it? Like 20 some people like around my age, some of them a lot older, but everyone around me understood what I was going through. And yeah, it was like the first time in my life where like every single part of my day and my social interactions were all involving people that completely understand it. And like it just like I didn't think that would be something that was so helpful to me, but it really was.
Of course, wow. And I also saw that you said a part of your recovery process, like the hardest part was the refeeding, and I wanted to ask you, was that like, some, like, of course that, like you said, it was the hardest process, and I wanted to ask you, what was that like for you?
The first month was the most challenging. It was the most I'd eaten in a really, really, really long time. And there wasn't any way to escape it. Like, there wasn't any way to escape it. Like, I couldn't just, like, skip a meal. If I did, I would have to, like, drink, like, the appropriate amount of, like, nutrition. And it was really painful. It was frustrating. It was extremely, really, really scary. And yeah, it was. I think the first week was like the hardest emotionally. I wasn't optimistic at all. The first weekend, I was kind of like, okay, how am I going to get out of here as fast as possible? Like, there's no way I'm ever going to be cured of this. I just want to get out of here as fast as possible. Like, this is too uncomfortable for me. I don't like this. And just as I slowly started refeeding, just like a lot of like connections, like in my like emotional and physical like well-being, like everything started to be like connected again slowly. Um, and and yeah, so the refeeding, it was frustrating because every you get weighed every single morning, which was hard. And because I have a weird relationship with weighing myself, and they didn't tell you the numbers obviously when they weighed you. They would weigh you and just write the number down and report it to your nutritionist, and your nutritionist would check in with you, have a private meeting with you once a week to discuss your weight and your meal plan. And those meetings are really scary because it was just like if I didn't meet like the quota of like weight gain, then they have to add something on to your meal plan. And like what I was eating, the baseline standard meal plan was already so much for me, but it was just like they kept increasing it, and like all the staff there were unbelievable, but just like it was hard not to like just like hate them sometimes, and like they would like increase your meal plan because it's just like I can't do anymore. But like it was all for like the best reasons, and like over time that became like more and more apparent, like, and like the pain of refeeding became more of a satisfied feeling. It was like I started to feel like full, and the fullness felt good. I was just like, oh, this actually kind of feels good. Like my stomach is full, and like that's not a problem. Like it's okay. Like and I did reach a point where with males, so something else that I wasn't really aware of is NG tube feeding within treatment, and I had somebody talk to me briefly about it before I went. But I didn't think that was even going to be a thing. And the first day I walked into treatment, I saw like a majority of the people wearing NG tubes, and I was terrified of that. I was just like, no, that's so freaky. Like getting fed through a tube while you sleep, like that's too, like I don't want to do that. And like halfway into my treatment there, I was doing fine with my meal plan, but my nutritionist sat down one day and she was just like, yeah, you've been the same weight for 2 weeks now. And I was just like, what? Like, I've been eating completely normally. She's like, yeah, but like you have to understand, like men are like young adult males, like biologically, like they have a harder time. Like biologically, you're just gonna have a harder time gaining weight, even if you're eating a lot of food, and like and so she's like, we can make like more increases, and I'm like, I think I'm like tapped out of doing that. Like I can't make any more increases. Like what can I do? Then we're gonna have to do a tube, and I was just like, oh my god, there's no way I'm gonna do this. But I was just like, I'll see what it's all about. And like I talked a lot with the doctors there, and just kind of wanted to like get a scope of it, because in my mind, and people ask me this over DMs, and friends ask me after, because I again, I'm like super open about like my experience, so I tell people like, just ask me anything, I don't care, like nothing's like offensive to me or anything. And I have people ask me, well, like if you're just getting fed through a tube, like wouldn't that defeat the purpose of like learning how to eat? And that's what I thought at first, and that's what I asked the doctors there, and they're just like, well, you're still going to be eating your meal plan, you're just going to be getting stuff, all of the increases that we would want to do, we would do them through your NG tube instead. And I was just like, okay, that makes sense. And like, and yeah, and then when you get it out, your body will, they were just explaining to me how like there's a lot of really, really strong research about how NG tube is really, really impactful in the refeeding process. And like they, a huge thing of treatment is just like learning to trust your team, and like I trusted them, so I was just like, yes, if you think that this will lead to me getting better, then I'm okay with it. I might not believe it right now, but like I trust you guys. And so I got an NG tube, and I had that for 3 months, and it was really, really hard to get used to it. It was super uncomfortable and like scary and weird, but I got used to it. And like I do have to say, like it it was so helpful. Like my one thing I'd say to people who are worried, like about like this is like such a random thing. Like I don't know if people like even know about like NG tubes with eating disorders, but like if anyone is curious about it, like I think it was extremely helpful, and like a majority of my friends there had NG tubes, and like we all agreed like yeah, they suck for the time and like they're a little bit uncomfortable, but you get used to the discomfort. But they're so helpful. Like it just like it works really well at like boosting your or like just getting your system ready for like having like having steady nutrition, because it's like your body's like kind of always digesting now. So it's like then when you go back to the real world, don't have a tube, don't have like a meal plan. It's like your body knows how to like operate well, and like so it was a really like good tool, and like it was a major like part of the refeeding process.
Yeah, of course. Wow. And was this ever like a thing that, of course this would be completely understandable. I wanted to ask you, was this draining on your mental health especially? Like, did it ever feel just overwhelming at times?
Yes. It like before treatment and during treatment, like I mean, I have like my diagnoses are like general anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, OCD, and PTSD, and it's like it sucks, like because I always feel like kind of weird like saying what I'm diagnosed with, because of like the stigma in a few different ways. I feel like I never want people to think that I'm like attention seeking with saying those things, because like I don't want to be diagnosed with those things. Like I wish I wasn't, but it's like that's what the papers say. And so yeah, like I guess like the only reason that I'm private about a lot of my other the other things that I'm diagnosed with is because like I just don't want people to like think a certain way, because of like the way that some like mental health is like stigmatized. But yeah, like the eating disorder treatment and everything like was extremely draining on my mental health. Like before treatment, my anxiety and depression were at like the highest they've ever been. Like anxiety was like affecting like the physical symptoms of my anxiety, just like my heart. Like I had to like see a cardiologist to make sure that my heart was okay, because it was like I was having really bad palpitations because of the malnutrition and the anxiety just causing my body to like react. And yeah, the depression was really, really, really bad. And like, I didn't want to get help because I didn't see a point in getting help. Like I was just like what? Okay. Like I get better, but what is that? Like, it's not like I like want to like have fun. Like yeah. So, and like, and during treatment, like, the facility that I went to, they base, they're really well known for their intense cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure therapy. That's like a majority of what they practice. So like all they're doing is trying to induce. It's like for exposure response prevention is like the main kind of therapy practice there, which is life changing. Like it was like they like your behavioral specialist, like mine. He was terrible, like just like made me like do the most ridiculous things to like force crazy amounts of anxiety out of me so we could learn how to cope with it while I'm like actually feeling those things, and just like getting used to feeling it, and like getting your sensitivity to anxiety down a lot lower. And like just like even with like depression, it was like when I was there, they don't give you time to ruminate and sit alone. Like they make sure that you're like doing things and like engaging. And like if you're not engaging, like anytime I tried to like sit in the dark in my room there, I would have like one of the residential counselors like knock on my door and be like, "Hey, like what are you doing? Like come out of bed." And like I was just like, "No, I really just want to be alone." They like force you out of it. Yeah, like a lot of that took like a huge weight off my mental health. A lot of the struggles I had with like my mental health, and like teach me how to deal with a lot of it. And also like I think that the therapy worked really well, like worked simultaneously with the medications that they, I was already on medication, but they kind of like did a few little adjustments while I was at the place.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really like fell into a nice place where it was like I wasn't relying on medication, but the medication was still helping a lot with like my depression and my OCD. Just like felt like a soft kind of blanket put over like the intrusive thoughts. Like they still come up, but it feels like I've like through the therapy and the medication, it's like developed this this like natural kind of like block to like taking things a lot further. But yeah.
Wow, that's great. And I love what you said about how like you just want to be alone sometimes. And I feel like at that time is when a patient or like someone who's in the facility would like really hate the person or start to get annoyed by them, but like they never know deep down, like they're just doing it because they're trying to help them. And I really love that. And also I love how open you are about everything. And I hope it's okay if I ask, like, as you were like eating more and like you were gaining more weight, did that ever like make you feel like, wow, like I feel drained, or I feel like I like overwhelmed like with everything that was happening?
Yeah, I gained a sizable amount of weight, and I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. It was at first there was like a bit of like excitement. I was like, oh, this is really great. Like I look healthy now. But like as it kind of went on, I started to get like a little bit uncomfortable with it, and just like I was like body checking a lot in the mirror, like way more often. And just like looking and seeing like I wonder where the fat is going. Like I'm wondering if like I'm still like appealing. Like struggled a lot like with that. It was definitely like uncomfortable, but and yeah, I mean I still look at myself in the mirror and have like a bit of mixed feeling, but if anything, like the proudness of it like outweighs every other thought. Like it's a constant like reminder to me, like even if I don't like the way that my body looks, like the way that I think about it is like I went to war to like have what I have right now, like to like be healthy and like to look this way. So I don't care like if I'm not as attractive or whatever. Like even though I it's like it's like I'm not looking to be like I don't care much about that stuff anymore now that I'm like really far removed from it. But I think like just the idea that like I worked so hard for this and I'm healthy and like I can do things that I used to not be able to do anymore outweighs any societal pressure to like look good. Because it's only natural, and it's hard to ignore those societal pressures. And I don't think there's anything that I could say that would like erase them for anyone. But it's just like when it all comes down to it, it's just like in my mind, it's absolutely, it's never worth like risking your life or putting your wellness in jeopardy just to like subscribe to that one little piece of society and like feel like you fit in. But yeah, like they're still like when I was gaining weight, there was definitely discomfort mentally, physically. But I kind of reached a point right now where I've stabilized mostly with my weight. I since leaving treatment, I gained even more. But so far, like this summer, it's like kind of stabilized, and like I am like in a completely new body and like still getting used to it. But like becoming like more and more comfortable and like I guess familiar with it.
Yeah, of course. And I love your confidence. That's amazing. And also when it comes to like trying to find a way to distract yourself from like what's going on with everything and like that overwhelming feeling, do you ever have anything that you do, like an outlet, a hobby, or anything that you do during the stressful and overwhelming times?
Yeah, I when I was in treatment, like we had like these fun little talent shows, and for a lot of my youth and like like most of my youth, I played the guitar. I took lessons for like 8 years and like went to summer camp and stuff. And I kind of lost touch with like playing instruments throughout high school and then like early college and stuff. But then like in treatment, we like I formed like this band with like 2 other patients, and we just had so fun, like just like taking the guitar out and like just like learning to play like funny songs and like doing that. And like so I started playing guitar a lot more, and that's felt really good to reconnect with that. And even if it's just for fun, like when I'm feeling anxious or something, it's such a good distraction. And like I'll just like play around and like make sounds with it that like help me kind of forget, or not forget, but just help me like cope and like feel better. And then also just like I just feel a lot more like in touch with myself, with my thoughts. It's easier for me to like make peace with them, and I've a lot of my like depression, anxiety, and the eating disorder like made me isolate a lot and pull myself back from like socializing and just like a lot of just like activities, just like everyday things. So like just like talking more and like interacting with people and like going out more has all just like made a huge difference. And then like I used to not watch like watching movies and like sitting down for long periods of time and watching stuff used to make me really anxious for some reason. Like going to the movie theater or like watching a movie, because I felt like trapped. Like in a movie theater, I'd always feel trapped. Like I was in like a seat and like there were people to my sides and I don't want to get up and go out because like I don't want to disturb anyone. And then like even just watching movies at home, I'm like, oh, I just sit here for like 2.5 hours or like 2 hours or whatever, like and watch this like long movie. Like I don't know if I could commit to that. And I just like would think way too much about like everything. And like in treatment, we had every Tuesday night was movie night, and I didn't go for like the first month. And then one time, like my friends convinced me like you have to come, and I was like fine, like I'll go. And I went to the movie and I had so much fun. Like I watched the movie, I like ate popcorn and candy and soda and like saw a good movie, and then went to like every single movie night after that and went to the movie theater so much. I haven't gotten a chance to do that since coming home, because like I came home in the pandemic, like had just kind of started. And but like when I was at home, I just was watching movies a lot more, and like I really enjoy like watching TV, and I for some reason like really love like musical theater like performances and movies, and like I watch like just like stuff that's like so happy. And then I also just like watch things that like that have always sounded interesting to me, but I just like didn't feel like watching them before because like I was just like too anxious or something. And yeah, so just like feeling like it became so much easier to cope with like hard things when it felt like I had so much stuff to do like around the world or like with myself. And yeah, so just like living my life and doing things has like helped me cope a lot.
That's amazing. That's really great. And also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the video that I saw of you. It was one that you were in the airport. I don't know if you remember it, but like it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and it was so funny. And you're like talking like really like you know, you're grabbing someone's attention. Like you went in front of a guy, and then he turned around, and it was just really funny to me. And I wanted to ask you, like, you have like such a great amount of confidence, which again I really love. And I wanted to ask you, like, has that always been a thing for you? Like, no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I totally get what you're trying to say. When I always have been very loud and outgoing. That I felt like that kind of I pushed myself into a box when I was going through a lot of like mental health issues, and like it sucked. Like I didn't feel like the loud person and the one who like stood out for a while. And the videos of me in the airport, like that was actually when I was flying home from treatment, and like I was so happy. Like I was so happy to come home. I was just in such a good place, and like I finally felt like being out in public by myself again without being like in treatment and like supervised. I I finally remembered like how good it felt to like want to like just stand out. And like I have this like I've always had this thing of like I would so much rather be seen as someone like if I'm out in public, I would rather be pointed at and laughed at for being like a fool than pointed out and like for being like, oh, like so serious, so cool, like when I just imagine myself walking through the airport, it makes me feel uncomfortable thinking like holding my head high and like walking around all cool. Like, I'd rather just like be out in public and like have people being like, what is wrong with this person? Like he's so weird or something. Because like that's just like that's the attention that I crave mostly. Just like being myself, being funny, and like not caring. And like it did take a while for me to kind of gain that back. And I think like kind of taking like this massive step back from the world and being in treatment for 5 months. When I was like born again into the world, it was like it was just like, wow, like I can do whatever I want. Like I don't like I can so much doesn't matter like to me anymore that used to matter in like a good way. So yeah.
That's amazing. Wow, that's really wonderful. And when it comes to like treatment and everything that happened, do you have any, I know you said your family is so supportive of you, which is absolutely amazing. And I wanted to say also, do you have any like specific friends that you hold like a really close bond with that really helped you during tough times?
Yes. A huge catalyst to like me realizing I hit my low point was my really good friend Dana. She's on my Instagram a lot. And like we've been friends since the beginning of my social media days. And she was the first person to kind of put her foot down and be like, I'm not entertaining this anymore. She and at the time I was so like, I was like, why is she not talking to me anymore? Like, why didn't she want to hang out with me? And like, and it finally like, I finally I understood it well into treatment. I was finally just like, because we had like made up, and like when I was told her I was going to treatment, she was like so happy for me. And then like finally when I was at treatment is when I realized I was like, oh, like she stopped talking to me like that one summer and like did all of that because she only wanted me to get better. Or like the people who were like still hanging out with me, like there was no harm in doing that. But like it was like when I like kind of, like in my mind when I like lost my best friend because I just was like not a good thing to be around and my eating disorder was like taking over my life and she didn't want to see that happen. That like that just like woke me up. I'm like, I need to keep my friends. Like I need to like do this. And like, so yeah, like that, it's like a very, it's a strong way to help someone, but it just makes so much sense to me. Like, because it is like unfair treating someone if they're not treating themselves right, if they're not treating their body right. Like I wasn't treating myself right. You shouldn't like let them think that that's okay and that they can like live a life living the way that they are. And so she helped me so much, and like just a lot of my friends. I had Dana surprised me on my birth. I left for treatment 2 days after my birthday. I got the call a day before my birthday, then had my birthday, and then 2 days after my birthday I went to treatment. And on my birthday, Dana surprised me, and then like 10 minutes later, she came in my front door, and then we went downstairs into my basement, and like Drew and Enya, like my two other friends from the internet who we've always like had this close little group with, they like flew all the way from LA to surprise me, because and yeah, that was like, it was like a birthday surprise and kind of like a bon voyage. Like they were all like there supporting me. Like we talked about like what I was going to be doing at treatment. They were like Enya gave me like Dana gave me like this little box of like cards that you pull out once a day, and like they have like quotes on them, which is really cute. And then like Enya gave me a little notebook to like write things down. And I've never really had like a journal or anything, but I actually did like keep a journal there for like I think I logged like almost like 20 full days every single day, and then like it spaced out a little bit. But yeah, so they were super helpful in that, like that my birthday, the one day we were all together was like a really, really good kind of like start to like my journey, because it was just like I had them with me, they left, and then I left, and made me feel like they were going to be with me for like what I was about to go through.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and I really love that friendship, and you guys all really inspire me to watch. I saw your page and all of their pages too, and especially I love how like your friendship can be funny, but it can also, you know, get serious, and it can be around with the hard times. Like you can always lean on them, and I absolutely love that. And I know you said like your friendships are like social media too, and I wanted to ask you, with social media, do you ever feel like it can be like a toxic environment or somewhere that it has like feeds negative energy?
Yes, it definitely can be. But yeah, it's like a hard thing to like. I always want to try and solve things or think of like the best thing to say, but like it's hard to, because it's so like complicated, and like it's so deep, and like it does kind of like hurt me sometimes to like see the way that some people act. It just like hurts me a little bit, and like not in like in like an empathetic way. Just like I don't look down on anyone. I just like wish the best for them, and like I do think that it just sucks. I really I appreciate a lot like some of the people that I see kind of like making a name for themselves right now, or expressing themselves like really well online. I think it could be that I follow the right people, but it seems that like so many of these people are really more people are getting known for their personalities than their looks, and it's like. But the other problem is, I think I kind of separated myself a lot from like the toxicity. I think I've unfollowed a lot of people who like are like the beauty trendsetters, and yeah, I feel like that's helped me like in a weird way, like kind of like, but it is kind of like ignoring like the problem, because there clearly is one. But I think if you follow the right people and surround yourself with the people, even just like surround your internet space with people who just like have the personality that you really like. That just like that just helped me a lot with like feeling like it's less toxic, and also just my own journey kind of helps me, and being open and honest with like my journey has also made my like kind of presence on the internet feel like a nice space. So yeah,
that's wonderful. I love that, and I wanted to ask you about advice. Like, do you have any advice for everything that you talked about, like your words and everything, like you articulated, and everything was so wonderful. I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice like regarding eating disorders or social media, or just like life in general when you're going through a hard time, for anyone who's like watching?
Yeah. I have always been like a go-getter. I want to get everything done really fast. I want to be at the finish line. I always want to rush things. Even with treatment, I wanted to rush things, but I cannot like stress this enough. Take your time with everything that you do. Like, if you need to take a break from school, take it. I've taken 3 breaks from school now, and I've been to 3 different universities, and I don't regret it at all. At the times, it always felt really hard to leave and slow down or like get myself help. But if I could just go back in time and tell myself like, no, stop what you're doing now, and like just take your time with treatment and like get better. Like this will always be around for you. Don't look at other people and think that like their success means that you have to attain the same thing in the same amount of time. Just take your time. Never feel like you have to rush anywhere. Take a break from school. Like I challenge you to take as much time as I am with school, and just don't. And if you have a friend or a family member who's going through something similar, even addiction or eating disorder or anything, just don't entertain their illness. Don't do what the illness wants it to do. And that's like
yeah, that was amazing. That was beautiful. And also, I wanted to say to anyone who's watching, like, just like Jacob said, like, when you're going through something, like, or you see someone who's going through something, like, it's usually so much easier to just entertain it or ignore the problem. And then, like, you never get a cure or you never solve it. And then it goes on longer than it should go on, for example. Yeah. And I really loved everything that you said. I loved your story. I absolutely love how open you are about everything, because, like, I know some people, like, of course it takes time to open up, and that is completely understandable, but I really did love how open you were, and your advice is wonderful, and I love the support system that you have, and everything that you talked about is so great. And yes, and anyone out again who's watching, like, I know, like, it can be a really hard time, especially going through something like OCD and an eating disorder, because it's almost like like a tornado. Like, they combine together, and it, like, makes your life 10 times more stressful. And I loved your story so much. And I wanted to also lastly ask you, like, when you're going through something like that, are there ever days where you just felt like, I don't know, like, absolutely, like, I know I talked about it a little bit, like, absolutely drained, or like you just want to give it all up, or you just want to be done with it?
Yeah, so many days in my low points where I just really, really, really wanted to give up, and like I just, like, I wanted to give up, but like I don't know what kind of stopped me from giving up was just like all the people who were rooting for me, I guess. Like my parents. Like I just like my parents have always been really supportive, but I've had problems with them. But like, how could I give up for them? Like, how could I give up for my little sisters? How could I give up for my older brother? Just thinking about my family, thinking about like my close friends, and sometimes even that stuff wasn't strong enough to stop me from like having the thoughts of giving up. Like, sometimes I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, I don't want to give up for those people, but who cares? Like, what's the point of living for them? Like, and just like I've had like really, really dark thoughts like that, and I think there was always this reaction in me to, like, no matter how dark those thoughts got, like, that would just like push me. I used a lot of like online resources even when I was in like really low points, and they helped me. Even just just like using resources that like I thought was like that weren't actually going to be helpful, I like took advantage of when I had thoughts like that. And even if they weren't that helpful, they helped me like push myself out of like the really, really low kind of like mind space I was in.
Yeah, I completely understand. Wow. And I want to say I love your story so much, and thank you so much for, sitting down and talking with me about everything, and again, being so open. It's so wonderful to hear someone open up about this, especially, as a man. I know it can be really hard, especially in today's society, for sure, with social media and everything, and you have a platform too, so I wanted to thank you so much. And if anyone out there is feeling alone or like they have no one to talk to, always know that there's always someone who's there for you, always someone who loves you, even if you don't see it. I want people to know, like, there is someone for you. And thank you again so much, Jacob. Everything you said was wonderful. Your advice was wonderful, and your story was so inspirational, and I loved it so much. And yes, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will link Jacob's Instagram down below, and I'll link his YouTube channel for sure, and everything, all of his social media. And I hope you guys enjoyed and have a wonderful day. Bye. Yes. Oh, that was wonderful.